today. Welcome to my photo editing live stream where you can submit your images before the stream starts with a link in the description. And I edit them here for you live. And I haven't even looked at them yet. I just downloaded them. So give me just a moment to get everything set up and we'll get started. Sorry for the late start. And welcome, Eric, as a new member supporting the work that I do here. I really appreciate it. You know, anything you guys do to help me along here is really, it helps a lot. And it's very, very greatly appreciated. So I have memberships and buy me a coffee links and direct donation links, all that stuff. But I'm trying to find what happened to the download real quick. Go in that folder. Oh, it's here. I don't know why it didn't unpack. Okay. So we'll do that. And just one more last minute one here from Eric. Okay. And we will get into it here very shortly. I hope everyone's doing well. Okay. So let's see if I got all my screens. I think that's right. Okay. So I see Paul here. Garrett, good to see you. And Roger, good to see you. Oh, you're welcome for the OM Workspace presets and things. And Jeff Painter, good to see you. And Roger's here. Okay. Let me make sure I got everything. So first one here is from William. And we have, looks like stormy skies and a seascape. And there is some barrel distortion. So let me apply basic preset. To correct for that, we need to do a horizon correction. I'm going to try the auto correction. Yeah, that actually that worked that time. It rarely works, but since I guess we have a very straight line. And I'm going to try excuse me, I'm going to try the auto lighting. Okay, that's a little better. And let me see what's in this scene and what can be seen. And we're at F8, OM1 12 to 40 Pro, good setup. Just a bit underexposed. I wonder why that is. It's a long exposure. 10 seconds. Wow. Okay. So must be using an ND filter. Compositionally, whenever you shoot wide angle, there's always a lot of negative space, I guess what you can call it. And unless there's a very, very distinct subject, I'm not a big fan of these kinds of things. So this is going to employ a pretty heavy crop. So I'm thinking either super wide or a vertical. Again, there's not much going on over here. Let me bring the exposure up a little bit more. I just want to see the scene a little more clearly. I think what I'll do, let me see what a vertical looks like. Let's go to a 4:3 crop. maybe right in here. I like that better. Okay. And I'm just going to dial in just a little bit more exposure or horizon correction. And let's see. That looks straighter to me by eye. All right, let me dial this, turn this off. And I think what I'll do, well, it's not bad, but let me just visualize a black and white. Mm, that doesn't work for me either. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and emphasize this bridge, a little bit of this uh, grass up here, and the sky. So we'll go right into local adjustments. And I'm going to use a control line. Just drag this in and then move the eyedropper up somewhere in the sky that has sort of a middle tone of everything it's looking at. And Clear View Plus really brings out the details in the sky, as you can see there. Okay. And that looks good. And then maybe a little micro contrast as well, just to make those stronger. Okay. And then for the water is going to be a little trickier because the tones. So I'm going to click the plus sign and start a new local adjustment. I'm going to try another control line, but I'm going to tighten up the mask on the chroma and see if I can get this bridge not to be in the scene, or in the mask, I should say. It's tough because the tones are so similar. So let me move this up a bit. I mean, we got good separation between the water, the grass, and the sky, but the bridge is just really blended in there. It's okay. We'll work with the bridge separately. But usually what I like to do is kind of the same thing. Water and sky, I like to do the clear view just to bring the details out and a little bit of micro contrast. And we could probably push the midtones and the highlights quite a bit here, like that. Okay. And then this bridge is mostly gray, but I do want this to stand out a little bit more. I'm going to try an auto masking brush. Whoops. And see how well. This is kind of the weakest tool in DxO. I mean, it gets the job done usually, but I usually end up cleaning things up. So let me, to check the mask, I just pull the exposure back. Yeah, it brought in all the water and everything because it's just not seeing the separation in tones here. So I'm gonna delete that. I'm just gonna use a regular brush instead because I can feather a regular brush. I'm gonna use a small brush and just brush right along the bridge and this little embankment here. And then I'm going to zoom in. And just hit the pillars. Just adjusting my brush along the way. And then I'm going to hit the Alt key on my keyboard to just erase some of the spill right around the edges. So when everything's kind of feathered, oops, that was too much. When you feather everything like that, you can make adjustments to your subject. I mean, to the mask, I mean, and have it look kind of natural. I'm adjusting my brush size along the way. Okay, so I'm going to start with the highlights, primarily because most of the water and under the bridge is in the shadows and midtones. So I'm going to start with the highlights to try to minimize affecting those areas. And let's move on next to the midtones. And finally the shadow. Okay. And there's just a little bit too much bleed back here, so I'm going to brush that. Okay. Maybe put a little bit more back in like that. Why is that? Oh, I got my opacity set. Oh, I didn't pay attention to my brush opacity here. I mean, I have to do that over. I'm sorry. Because when I double brush over it, it feels like it's okay. All right, and then I'll just erase. Got a strong, let me check my settings up here. Okay. So we'll just push up in here a little bit. And again, adjusting my brush size along the way. Let me do it that way. Okay. I'm going to use a big brush and just feather in very gently. Like that. And along the bottom here, along the top. Okay, now let's do the same thing. We'll start with the highlights. And then we'll push the midtones next. And a little bit in the shadows. All right, good. Let me see if I can get these rocks a little bit more. Nope. Those rocks are pretty dark, so maybe a slight shadow push. Okay, let's see how that looks in the scheme of things. Good, good. I'm happy. All right, so we're going to just do a very light eraser brush. Oh, too much. Right there. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. All right. And then I'm going to emphasize the grass here, maybe. Let's see. Nope. not with that. Let's make a new brush. Maybe we'll try a control point because there is good separation of color here between the yellow and the blue. So let me see if I can tighten that up like that. And I'm going to try a little vibrancy just to bring the color in a little more. And I can even warm this up a tiny bit in the white balance. Okay, good. Let me go back to the water. I got a good dropper there. I'm going to cool the water off a tiny bit. Like that. And also I'm going to pull the blacks in just a little bit and push the highlights again. And let me go back to this brush. What I want to do, let me get my eraser tool. I just want to, I'm going to use, okay, now I'm going to reduce the opacity. I want to get under this bridge a little bit. I'm just getting a little bit too much spill. Okay. Just like that. All right. I think that's not bad. The sky, I'm going to warm up a tiny bit. I can maybe use the same control line, but I don't want down in here to be too warm. But there's a little bit of warmth here, and I'm going to reflect that into the sky in the top. So I think I'll use a control point instead and pick a brighter part like that, and then we'll tighten up the mat. Sorry, I forgot to hit the plus sign. So control point plus, okay. And then we'll tighten up the luminosity mask this time. Maybe a little bit tighter. Yeah, I try not to go over 70 on these sliders. I like between 60, right around 60 is usually good. Let's pull this in. Maybe expand this. All right, I'm going to try and just give it a touch of warmth here. Okay. And a little bit more magenta. All right, one last thing, one last little touch up, I think. Just a couple of the highlights. I like to accent the image, although these are really tiny. But I do like to accent the images sometimes with a couple of highlights here and there. So there's a tiny wave here, the spot of red in here. And I think maybe we'll accentuate these stairs here altogether. And I'm just going to try just a basic exposure push like that, and give it a little vibrancy. This red's not popping like I want it to. So let me go back to my eraser. We'll just clean up the edge a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit there. And that looks good. I really want to get that red spot, so let me make a new brush. And I'm just going to hit the red on this. Okay, so let's go over here to the red color wheel, click on the red icon, saturate that a bit, brighten it up a bit. Very, very tiny accent, but I guess that's okay. So I need to, getting a little bit of spill here for some reason. Oh, my opacity's way down. There, that's better. Okay, let's export that. And this is a little bit too bright. So let me go back over here. I think it was the sky control line. This one. Yeah, this control point. Just pull the highlights in a tiny bit. And then a little bit, let's just do a little bit more on the global. I don't know if the auto lighting's done, so I'm gonna just push it right there. Okay, now I'm done. So let's export that because there's some noise in it because we had to push an underexposed image. So do that and 95%. Preserve color details. Okay, let's export that and see how it looks. And I see Bert has come in, and Jan, good to see you. And let's see, and Stone Rock, good morning. Almost forgot you were in this morning. I need alarms to keep me organized. Yeah, me too. I use my calendar extensively, and I still miss things and show up late. I almost missed a photo job. I mean, I just, oh, okay. Anyhow, it's a little bit too warm over here on the left. I'm sorry. I'm spending a lot of time on this. I think it was this. Yeah, it was this one. Let me just back off the warmth a bit. Go back down to about 8,000. Actually, it's not the warmth so much, it's the saturation. Let's pull the saturation back a little bit. Right about there. I'll push the vibrancy back in. Okay, let me export that one. I'm sorry. Overwrite that. And it should only take about 5-10 seconds to bring that up. So let's reset this image. That's the original. And compare it to the output. Okay, so the original, like I said, there's so much negative space. I don't know if I'm using the right word in the sky and in the water. So I just tried to minimize that and then balance the scene between this pier and the grass. Uh, and and then bring some more detail into the sky. I think the vertical works a lot better. So if we do a comparison like this, I'll zoom in a bit. So there's the original. And of course, straighten the horizon. There's the final image. And I think that looks, I wonder if I can do full screen. Yeah. So just underexposed. I'm pretty sure there was an ND filter. And then also I want to, mention the highlights here and here. I could have probably extended this a little bit more just to give a little bit more ripples here and there. But I think that looks pretty good. Okay. Thank you for sending that in. And I do want to thank everyone for sending their images in. I do appreciate it because it's a learning experience for me as well in many ways. Okay, and the next one here. So I think I saw a message from Paul. Said I sent 3 images, but just choose one you like. Okay. So yeah, generally I only like to get 1 image at a time from each person because I spend a lot of time on them, maybe too much time, and I want to get to everybody, as many different people as I can. So this is an interesting image, and then we have this bird and this one. So I think I like the first one better because there's so many pictures of solo parrots, but or whatever these birds are, but I don't see ones that have multiple as often. So I'm going to go with this one. And what I'll do is, and of course, the birds are green, so it's going to be hard to separate them with any kind of masking. And compositionally, oh, there's a little bird down in here too. My goodness. Uh, this one, I might have to do a little bit of brushing, like erasing. Oh, I see. This is in some kind of bird cage or farmish area. Let's see. Oh, let me download the optical module here. So we have a Nikon Z8 with the 24 to 120 f4. Wow, good setup. If I buy a Nikon, it's going to be the Z7 II or the Z8. I just can't right now. Okay, so we have the optical module. Now let's apply my basic preset. And I don't know if I can stay with a 3x2 because there's so many birds. That one's cut off. I like the way he's looking in that direction. I might have to do a square crop. So let me try. Oh, it's not quite big enough. So 4x5 maybe. I try not to get birds that are kind of halfway in the frame. And this balance is just not right. Of course, balance in nature is usually difficult with very busy scenes like this. So clearly this bird's going to be the key subject, and then we have the supporting subjects down here. We have a line here and a line here, but this bird is just above. Okay, let me try 4x5 crop. No, I'm going to stick with the square. I think this is all I can do composition-wise. All right, so this is going to be tough to separate, but I want to separate the birds from the background as much as I can. And I can't do that with depth of field or uh, color, so I have to do it with lighting, right? I'm going to try and make the background much darker than the foreground. And since everything is so similar, I think And when I say similar, I mean like in the tones and in the color. So it's going to be really difficult to separate things by luminosity or by chroma, which is the technical terms, I guess. So I'll just use a brush, maybe a control point. Let me see how far I get with a control point. If I tighten the chroma up and the luma, yeah, they're just too similar. So we'll just have to use very small control points. And just tighten up the chroma just a little bit. Maybe about 50, somewhere in the 50s. See if this works for these smaller birds. Okay, I'm just gonna do just a global push. So when I use the exposure slider, it's a linear brightening, right? That looks better. All right, let me just overexpose. So I'm gonna overexpose there, and then I'm gonna pull the exposure in the opposite direction globally. Okay. Go back to my brush, or I'm sorry, control points. And then we'll pull the highlights just a bit. I'm a little worried about this wing here. I might have to do a separate control point for the blue wing. I'm gonna add just a little bit of color saturation. Okay, I got to get rid of this one bird down here. And that red spot is bugging me. Okay, that looks good. All right, we're almost there. So let's see. I'm going to let's warm it up a little bit. That's good. Go back to my control points, and I'm going to desaturate a tiny bit. Maybe I'll just pull the vibrancy in. There we go. All right, now the branches and this very bright spot up here and down in here. The branches should be not too bad. I might be able to get away with a auto masking brush. I'm just going to experiment here. Yeah, that's not bad. Just add a little bit more in there. I'm going to pull these in just a tiny bit. Let me make a new one for the ones in the front. See how we did there? Not bad. Just a spot right there. Okay. Go back here. All right, let me look at the original again and just see. So now I've made the birds neon. Okay. Try some clear view and some micro contrast. Where'd that go? Here. Okay. All right, one last ditch effort here. See if I can get rid of some of these brighter spots. Oof. Okay. I don't know if that worked out too well. Hold on. Whoops. This is the one I want. All right, forget that one. Forget these. I'm just getting too much ghosting. All right. But that one that I did up there looks okay. I'm going to try and bring some light in this way. Tighten up the Luma mask. Give it a little warmth. Okay. Let's see where I'm at. Okay, that's not bad. Let me just push the reds a little bit globally. I'm going to go to red and just brighten those up a tiny bit. Give them a little more saturation. And the yellows, let's see. A bit there, a tiny bit of brightness. I think I can fix this corner. Let's grab something here. about that? Well, I'm not having much luck with that eraser brush today. All right. I think I'll call it there. So let me export this. And everything looks good. Give that a second. And I see Marsha's come in, and also Shri, how are you today? And Marsha has a question just about DxO8. Where is the pure raw reduction? It's called D prime XD. So I'll show you on the next image. So let me reset this one. And we'll do a side by side here. Oh, man, that parrot is a little bit too yellow, isn't it? Hold on. Let me go back and undo some stuff. I like the effect it's having except on the parrot. So I'm just going to shorten this up. And give it a little more bump. All right, now we're done. Or as much as I can do. Yeah, Marsha's asking, are the blues in the wing natural color? They do have blue tips on their wings. I might have overdone it there too. But let me see, if I turn that off. No, I just made them a tiny bit brighter. So let's do another comparison. I got to reset it. All right, so here's the original unedited image. So you can see there's the blue wings. I didn't do too much there. It's about the best I can do, I think. I should have maybe went a little warmer with the tree stump here, but let's do a slider full screen. So there's the before. And then my cropped image like that. It's a tough call. That parrot is still a bit too warm. I didn't think I added any warmth to those guys. But I think I would go back and make this a little bit greener. It's a little bit too yellow right here in the front. I don't know where that color's coming from. Because I don't think I added any warmth. I didn't add any warmth to the bird. I can pull it back that way a little bit, just using the white balance tool. All right, boy, that was a tough image. Okay, let's go to the next one here. And this one's from Stefan. I think, and good morning, Dudley. Good to see you. So let me apply a basic preset. So let's see. There's a little context here in this road. So I'm going to do a square crop. Oops. And just come in nice and tight. Like that. And then let's do, so I'm going to do a spot weighted smart lighting. It didn't detect the face, so I'm just going to select it. And then pull. Oh, I'm killing a dog there. Not getting much accomplished with the smart lighting. So let me just go back to my local brush here. And we'll push the midtones here, and we need a separate one for the dog. So I hit the plus, and just add a little bit of a push here with a pull on the blacks. Push the midtones, pull the highlights. Let's do some brushing for the highlights. And this is what I was saying earlier about the parrots. The masking is going to have a hard time when there's very little separation in luminance and color. So clearly this mask is having no problem finding this separation between the luminance or the brightness and the color between the grass and the dog. So that's why it's working so well here versus when I was doing the parrots. I just want to bring a little bit of the detail back on the dog. And the eyes are nice and bright already, so I think we're good there, but we could do a little bit on this kid. So I'm going to do control points just for the eyes. I'll spread that out a bit and do a slight push here and some clear view to make them shiny and a little micro contrast. Give it a little sparkle, a little more brightness there, and the lips. All right. I think I'm almost done on this one. I'm debating about, let me see, giving a little, just a touch of sepia. Just give it a little bit of warmth. Let me go back to the kid here. And just brighten up the face a little bit more. And then we'll just add a tiny bit of vignette. Oh, not soft focus. Come on. Here we go. Spread that out a little bit. And let's just do a linear brightening here. Okay. Now the face is just a hair too bright. All right, I'm going to call it there. So let me export that. Oh, I'm sorry, Marcia, I didn't show you the deep prime. Right here in this tab here, the detail tab, just click on deep prime or deep prime XD. Both of these are sort of the pure raw denoising functions. And if you can just do apply preset. DxO has a standard preset here, number 2, DxO standard. That'll apply the optical corrections, but then you also need to go in here and apply the deep prime. So let me reset this, and we'll compare side by side with the output. All right. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better. So there's the original. I didn't like the sheep's butt, of course, and there's just a lot of unnecessary things, dead space kind of all the way around here. So I'm just focusing on the subject, and I tried to balance it as much as I can. But whenever I edit, people or animals, I try to make them the brightest thing in the scene relative to everything else. And I think now they really stand out there on the left, whereas on the right here, they're just kind of part of the scene. They're not the subjects so much. And if we zoom in, there's tiny bit of motion blur, it looks like, and softness. But I think DxO did a good job cleaning that up. I could go in and do some additional sharpening and stuff, but it's a little tough because it looks like either the lens is very soft or just curious, what did you shoot this with? A Canon? Oh, the 18 to 150. Okay, so I can crank up the sharpness pretty easily on this. But there's just a tiny, what's your shutter speed? 1/2/5, so it's not motion blur. Near at 100 millimeters. The lens is just a little bit soft. Yeah, the lens is a little bit soft, so I think if I push the details quite a bit more. Let's try that real quick. Oh, did I lock it up? Because I exported the file while it was opening, so it's probably having a hard time. Yeah, dang it. Don't export files while they're open. Give me a second. Oh, dumbass. All right. One second, I'll fix this. I don't know if that's a bug or if that's something I did. I knew it. I knew I should have closed the file before I exported it. All right, we're almost back. And then Marcia's asking, how am I duplicating control points? I'm just clicking with the mouse. So once I create one control point, if I click somewhere else in the picture, it'll apply the control point again. It'll duplicate it automatically. And that's one of the things I really like. If you're coming from Lightroom, that's not the case, right? You have to keep creating or using control keys to create duplicate control points, or radial filters is what they call it. So let's see if, I don't think that exported. Yeah, it didn't export, dang it. I lost it. I lost everything. I lost the image I exported, and I lost all of my edits. Well, hopefully you got a good look at it before. All I was trying to do is increase the sharpness. You can, when you have a raw image and a lens that's in the optical database, you can actually sharpen them up quite a bit. And I noticed that it was a little bit softer, so the sliders that I was using before, here on the deep prime lens compensation, you can crank these up, quite a bit without making it look over sharpened, but it'll sharpen the lens up. But unfortunately, to go past this. Okay, but that was from Stefan. Thank you, Stefan. Right? Yeah, Stefan Sheridan. Okay. All right, so we have one here from Jan, and he's asking how to change the background. Uh, that is not something that DxO does. So it's something you'd have to do in Photoshop with the AI replacement. So you would select the subject. But yeah, DxO doesn't have any kind of layering capability or uh, AI replacement, things like that. So, okay. But I could do that. If there's time, I'll do it in Photoshop towards the end. Um, but I would just do, well, let me do it real quick. I'm not going to do any editing to this image because it's just a prop. So we'll just apply basic preset and maybe some lighting, push the shadows a bit. And then over here, I'm going to do export to application. Now I'm going to export it as a 16-bit TIFF to Photoshop 25. And as you can see, it's exporting now. TIFFs take a little bit longer because they're huge files. But okay, it's exported with all the optical corrections and denoising and sharpening and uh, the very minor editing adjustments I made. Come into Photoshop, and then I'll do just select subject. Close this. So it should find the subject. I'll invert it, clicking this button, and then generative fill. And we'll just say enchanted forest, like that. Should only take a second. And there you have it. Or that. These look like paintings, so let me add realistic. Oh, Eric says that Windows 10 image editor can modify background and replace it too. Okay, I didn't know that. I've never used it. Let's see what they got. So there's some options. That's how you can do it. The AI is not giving me what I want. I'd have to play with it a little bit more, but that gives you an idea of. So I'll go back. I'll exit this and save it. Oh, let me where's let me get rid of these. Okay, save that. click OK. And then, so there's the image. All right. Let's go to the next one. And let's see, we have an owl here from Garrett. Okay, this is pretty straightforward. So we'll apply a basic preset. And I'm going to apply a square crop right there. That's not bad, but let me just, whoops, my mistake here. Okay, try that again. Crop in a little tighter. Something like that. And I'm going to try this white balance thing. It's a bit too warm, so I'm going to back it off. There. Okay, good. And this one, the auto masking should be able to handle this. This is pretty straightforward. Very good separation in tones and in color. Okay, let's try that. Yeah, did a good job. Let me just clean up a little bit in here. A brush. And then we'll add in the feet. I like to make the brush a little smaller and come in closer to deal with these things. May have missed the eyes there a little bit. Okay, good. So let me go ahead and just get that and just brighten it. And then I'm going to go back to the global exposure, pull it back. Go back to my brush. That's not bad. Okay, right there. Now let me do the eyes. So Marcia, for example, like I want to do the eyes. So I just click one control point. I make it a little smaller, then I just click again on the other eye. So now I have two duplicate control points. So any changes I make will be applied to both, as you can see. So yeah, it's really fast workflow. So I'm gonna do my usual with the eyes. In this case, I'm just gonna do global brightening because the eyes are pretty bright already. Crank up the clear view, add some micro contrast, and then I'm gonna saturate these a bit too. Let's try saturation. And yellow, let's see if we can just darken them a little bit. I'm gonna move the control point over a little bit onto the yellow. And let's do it one more time. Just a touch. Pull the highlights actually a tiny bit. Now let's try and saturate a little bit. Okay, we'll make a new control point and click here and just give the beak a little brightness and a little more saturation. So with birds, it's always eyes, beak, and talons, right? At least for me. So I'm gonna go to the talons and just brighten those a tiny bit. They don't need much, just a quarter stop. And I'm gonna create a new control point, and I'm just gonna pull on this side, just some of the blacks, just to give a little bit of a shadow. Right there. And then make a new control point and pull these in a bit. Give it a little bit of brightness. A little bit more in the highlights. Tones. And tiny bit of micro contrast and warmth. Maybe go to 8,000. Go back to my previous control points. I'm going to cool these off down to about 7,000. Right there. And then control line. And let's move this down here. We'll tighten up the chroma mask this time and the luma mask. Wow. Let me move this around a bit. I'm getting a little bit too much of the owl, but that's all right. So let's just pull this in. And cool it off a tiny bit. 7,000. Make a new control line from this direction. And just brighten it a bit. Maybe keep the contrast by pulling the blacks. Let's make it brighter. All right. I think I'm done. So let me export this to disk. See how that looks. Reset it. Compare it with the output. So here's the original on the right. And got kind of this mosaic back here. But I think this looks a lot better. Just very subtle changes, really, across the board. And again, just to look at DxO's output, let's see if I could add a little bit of sharpening to this bird. It definitely got rid of the chroma noise and stuff, but there's still just needs a little bit more sharpness. So let me see. Go back here. What is this? This is Canon. So I'm going to increase this just a bit, tiny bit on the threshold. Okay. Let me export this one. All right, so I didn't have it open at the same time. So I'm not giving DxO any reason to crash. I mean, it rarely crashes. As you guys know, if you've been watching my streams, I think that's the first time it's crashed in months. For me, offline as well, it never crashes. Oh, you know what? I didn't download the optical module. That's why it's not sharp. All right. See, I forgot to click on this right here. Dang it. That's important too. All right. Now I got the lens softness correction. Yeah, I don't need this unsharp mask anymore. Okay. Let's export that one. I'm sorry, guys. Once that exports, let's reset and compare. Oh, much better. Okay. Yeah. It's very subtle. You may not even be able to see it on the stream. But here's the original. Lots of dead space here. And here's my cropped edit. Oh, there's the cropped edit. I think that looks a lot better. And if we do full screen and just do a comparison, that came out pretty good. Okay, let's go to the next one. And I'm going to click the optical module here. I set DxO to not automatically just load them because when I was way back on DxO Photolab 5 or 6, it took forever to download and apply. But Photolab 8, that process seems to be streamlined and they download pretty quickly. So I may reactivate the auto download. But that's why I forgot to do it because I turned it off because it was just taking forever before. But it seems to be pretty quick now. Okay, oh, you're welcome, Garrett. Has a beautiful picture of an owl. All right, so we have an action scene. Good panning here. 1/60th. I like these trees. I'm gonna see if I can incorporate all this. So I'm gonna apply a basic preset, and I think I'm gonna go with a vertical crop because I want to incorporate the trees. I want them to be more of the picture than the dirt. So something like this. That looks good. And maybe let's try 4x5. Yeah, that feels a little better. I'm just going to use some control lines to kind of to vignette this. I'm going to move this point right there. Tighten up the mask a little bit with, I think Lumas will be fine right there. Let's just make that dirt a little darker. I think we can do the same thing for the trees. Let me see. Not so sure about that. Whoops. Is that? Yeah, that's better. Okay, the image overall is a little bit cool, so I need to warm it up. Maybe just a tad more. And let's bring some of the green back right there. Not getting quite the effect I'm thinking of. Let me try some control points. So I'd like to just pull back some of the brightness in here. Yeah, that's good. And just a little bit there, here. Okay, let's make a new one. I use a very, very soft brush. So I'm going to pull the opacity back to about 30% and work on this tree. A bit too warm. I just want the highlights to come through, not so much anything else. So there's not too many highlights, so I'm going to push the midtones. Okay, we're almost there. I'm going to go back to my dark control points. I'm going to pull the midtones this time. And let me work on the subject a little bit here. Just going to push. Let's try the shadows. Midtones. And another control point for the wheels. Just the very brightest parts here. Just tighten that up. Tighten up the Luma mask as well. Okay. Let me see how I did here. Yeah, I think that'll work. So I'm going to stop there. Let's do a quick export. Yeah, Eric, she is in focus, so that's you're probably panning a little bit, right, when you took this picture, because everything else is out of focus or slightly blurred. At least that's what it looks like to me. Okay, reset that, compared it with the output, and see how we did. Yeah, I think that looks a lot better. Because this image is a little bit cool, right? I think the white balance didn't warm it up quite enough, the auto white balance or whatever you did. And again, with all of the negative space, right? This is not, so rather than being negative space or just nothing, I really worked on the trees to emphasize them. And then I got rid of all of this down here. So we ended up with this image. I didn't get rid of everything down here, obviously, because of perspective. But yeah, I think that looks really good. Much warmer feeling and being in a forest. Whereas this just feels kind of cold a little bit, mostly because of the white balance. So there's the side by side. Okay, and then Jimmy says, I just submitted a photo. Could it be used in today's stream? I'll have to see how I'm doing on time. I have a photo thing I'm going to at 2 o'clock, and it's like an hour away, so I have to kind of prep for that. So if I can finish the stream by 12, I'll be okay. So I'll try, Jimmy. I'll try. Okay, let's see. Uh, oh, I didn't apply the optical corrections again. Sorry about that. That image didn't need it too much, but it would have helped a little. Okay, let me see. Is there any other? Yeah, there's no other ones that I don't have the optical corrections for. So OM1 300F4, nice. That's why I have the optical correction loaded already, because this is the same setup I use. Ah, wow, you got really close to this bird. So let's do a basic preset, and I'm gonna do a square crop and just tighten this a little bit. But I don't want to lose these feathers down here. So let's do a 4 by 5 and just come in right there. Wonder if I can clean up this stick. Let me come in right there. Make it a little bigger. And sometimes you have to do these a little bit at a time. Um, when they're close by, like the beak here, for example. Okay. Um, Good enough. And this is really well exposed too, so I don't have to do too much, but we'll brighten the eyes as usual. Actually, I need to pull them in a little bit. This, give it a little bit of clear view and micro contrast. Do the same thing for the beak. We don't have any talons we have to worry about. Uh, So let's do some clear view. Pull it in just a tiny bit and some micro contrast. Oh, looks like my fingernails. Okay. We'll do a control line. Whoops, sorry, I need to hit the plus sign. Let's just pull this down a bit darker. And the feathers here just need a little bit of highlight pull as well. Okay, good. And then I'm going to make these feathers and things kind of shiny. Let me see if I can do that with some micro contrast. That. Slight push on the vibrance, and then I'm going to see if I can push these magentas and purples a little bit. So let me stretch this out like that. Okay, good. And let's do a separate one for the greens like that. And let's go over here to green. They're more of a blue-green, so I'm going to shift the color down a little bit and just push that. Maybe. Yeah, that looks good. And then one here for the hair. Ooh, mask is struggling just a bit with that, but we're just going to add some clear view and micro contrast, I think. I said hair, I meant feathers. Maybe up in here as well. All right, let me see where I'm at. All right, let me try the auto lighting or smart lighting. Nope. I need to brighten this a bit. Okay. And then the image overall is a little bit cool again, so I'm going to just push the white balance a tiny bit. To add a quick vignette. Pull it back a little. Okay, let me export that. Let's see how we did. Yeah. Wow, it's very, very subtle. But the main thing is we cleaned up a lot of the noise and brought a lot of the detail back. So if we zoom in, look at what the DxO optical module can do with the details in the feathers. I can almost see the veins in the eyes here as well. It's pretty amazing. And this lens is super sharp. And this is why I like DxO so much, is I feel like it gives the best results. But never mind DxO. Look at the noise. Whoops. Look at how well it cleaned up the noise. I'm sorry. Give me 1 second. Hello? Yeah. Whoops. Am I sorry? I hope there we go. Sorry about that. I got it. My mom called. So I have to answer because she's like 80 some years old and I'm pretty much obligated anytime she calls. You never know, right? But okay, there's that bird. Let's go to the next one. And sorry about that. There's no sound. What I was saying was that the 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 framing is too tight that I can't do like a perspective correction. So what I'm going to do is select an area that I find interesting in the picture so that I can straighten the lines out and everything. So the cropping initially is going to be a little rough. I may change it as I go. Uh, but I can't get the whole building in the scene and have a crooked building. It's just not who I am. Okay, so I'm gonna try and focus on some details of the building, but I need to get the crop just right in a way that I like. I think that'll work for me right there. God, sorry about that. All right, so let's click the auto lighting. That's not doing much. All right, let's do some local adjustments, and I'm gonna brighten the windows. Maybe I'll do it with a brush instead. Let me do the auto masking brush. See how we did there. Yeah, that's good. Right in here and here. Push the shadows. Give it some clarity. And that window's already pretty bright, so good. Let's give it some micro contrast, maybe. Okay. And then I'm going to go to the global side on the color and select the bricks in here. Give them a little bit more, a little brighter. Okay. Maybe not that much. I'm going to go back with my local adjustments. Create a new control point. Let's see what this does. And we'll push the shadows. Let me see the mask. I'm going to tighten up the chroma mask a tiny bit. Okay. Good. All right. Some up here. Let me go back. Push that. Let's warm it up a tiny bit. Like that. We'll do a control line, a new control line, like so, and just on the stucco, and give it a little warmth. Make it look like there's a little bit of sun. We'll do the same thing. Let's try this corner and this corner. Just push those up a bit. A little warmth. And right there. Just a little bit more in the mid-tones. Okay. Okay, I think I'll call it there. Let's maybe I think let's do just a micro contrast and some clear view globally. and a global push on the shadows. Oops, that's too much. All right, I think that'll do it. So let me export that. Oh, you guys can hear Ellie? Yeah. All right, so let's reset it, compare it to the output. All right, so like I said, the images is I'm not gonna be able to fit the whole building in, so I had to pick something on the building. So I went with a little bit of symmetry, right? So we have basically two windows on the left, two windows on the right. I mean, this is really three windows, but I'm just grouping these. And generally, when you shoot buildings, you always want to make the front door or the entrance very prominent. And that's also kind of what's missing in this image is a prominent entrance, whether it be the stairs leading up to a door or the door itself. You know, if you can't see the door, then the stairs going to the door, etc. Uh, and then I wanted to, it was just too cool. You know, you can see it's a very bright, sort of a partly cloudy day, so there's should be plenty of warmth in this image, but because the building's on the wrong side, right? Or there's a cloud covering the sun right now, which is most likely the scenario. I had to bring the warmth back in using the white balance. But I think that that this image is a much more interesting image um, when we can just focus in on sort of the details, because now you can see, if I zoom in, you can see all of the, you know, the patterns here in the brickwork and the cinder blocks, the lines. I mean, there's a lot of detail in this image, so it's okay to crop in when there's a lot of detail. Well, it's okay to crop in anytime, really, but there was a lot of detail and stuff that I wanted to capture, whereas you know, if we capture the whole building, then the image is not about the fine details. The image is about the building and the architecture overall. But when you crop in, you want to focus in on all of the fine details, and now you can see them. So that was my thought process there. Okay, let's go to the next one, and that was from I'm sorry, that was from Philip. Thank you, Philip. All right, so we have a rainbow. Ooh, this is tough. Let me apply a basic preset. And it's a little bit of a rainbow here too. It's like a double rainbow. So I think, hmm, I don't know if I can pull that out or not. Let me try, let's try pulling. Some greens. Yeah, that's a little tough. So we're gonna forget about that one rainbow. See if I can balance this. Give it a slight tilt. That's over here. Though I like this buildings over here too. I like this side better generally, but there's no rainbow. So I wonder if, but this just doesn't look right. Yeah, that framing doesn't work. I think this side works better. And we'll get a little bit of the front in there. And let's see if smart lighting, yeah, smart lighting worked well that time. Just give it a little bit more here, and let's export that. Okay, reset, compare side by side. All right, so again, this image, all of this over here, I really like it because, you know, I'm an architecture guy, but, you know, the image is all about the rainbow. So, and it's not adding anything to the rainbow. It's just too heavy on the right side. So I'm just concentrating over here with the rainbow and just a little bit of balancing here on the right to offset, you know, this lot of negative space in here. So the negative space is okay because again, we have a very clear, distinct subject with this rainbow. And I wasn't able to separate the rainbow on this side enough to really make use of anything on this side of the frame, unfortunately. So if we look at it full screen, there's the original. And then here's the edit. I like this church. And the church, I didn't have to brighten it any more than it needed to be. Because it's already pretty bright as it is. So Jimmy's asking, could you make it into two separate images? Not really. Uh, I would have composed it a little bit differently. I mean, potentially there's an opportunity to do that. I mean, if you had sent, not you, but if Naturado had just sent in this part of the image, I could do something with that, definitely. But when I think of two images, right, usually I think of like a diptych or something where the two images are going to go together in a certain way. And I don't think this would work well as a diptych either. They work better separately, completely separate, at least in my mind. So I could do something with this side of it and edit from here, but primarily this is the image I think they were going for. That looks pretty good. Okay. Let's see. This looks familiar. It's kind of the same river, but it's like during drought times. This is from Paul. So let's do the basic preset and a little bit of smart lighting. Pull up the exposure. Okay, I'm going to do an optical correction there. I'm sorry, perspective correction. Scenes like this, it works pretty well. You know, straightening the horizon and the straightening the lines across the frame. And then we got some green windows over here. God, what lens is it? 7 to 14. That is, the 7 to 14 Pro is so sharp. Oh, it's on sale now too. Okay, we got this yellow. Greens on this side with the reds. And this really muddy brown water. It's kind of messing up the whole image having this water here. So I think if I can get rid of that water. Oh, that's a little bit the perspective is a little bit off. I have to come down a little more. Okay, I like that. All right. Okay, I want to separate the windows. Boy, that's going to be a pain. Let me see if there's a global setting in the color. I don't think there'll be enough separation between these greens. But, yeah. The green's got a lot of red mixed into it is the problem. So let me tighten that. If I pull the reds out, then the windows don't brighten up the way I expect. Just a tiny bit there. And then let's work on these reds. It's more of an orange, isn't it? I'm going to make these darker. If I expand this a little bit. Okay, that's better. Now we can see more of the brickwork or stonework. Let's go to this yellow. Yellows, whoops. What did I just do? I didn't turn off I didn't do anything. This is right. Yeah, let's not mess with that. All right, let's do it with a local brush or control point. Tighten up the chroma mask. Brighten that up a little. And saturate it. Oops, not warm, saturate. Okay. And then we're gonna, let me just use a very light brush, opacity. Yeah, all right. Let me just get the people in here. Give them about a quarter stop, or man, they need quite a bit. We'll give them oh, that's why, because I'm at 30% opacity. Let me crank this back up. And just brighten them that way. Did my brush not? Let me try that again. Yeah, that's good. Okay. All right, let's get the sky. So do a control point, tighten up the luma again, and clear view, and highlights. Like that, and some micro contrast. Okay. And we need to pull the vibrancy back globally, like that. Not that much. About right there. And then a couple of spots of light. So we'll do a control point. And let's put a spot here and here. Start with the highlights. Yeah. Touch on the midtones. Put a spot there. A spot here. And all of this stuff in here. All right, I think I'll call it there. So I'll export that, give that a second. Where's my... Okay, let's reset and do a side by side. All right, so here's the original, obviously. Yeah, it was too dark, but I get it. We're saving the highlights, right? So that's why I got a really good recovery on the sky over here. And also, I desaturated it a tiny bit too much, maybe. But let's go to full screen and do a slider. And then, of course, the perspective correction was automatic, which worked really well here. But yeah, what was bothering me was all this muddy water. So I cropped it as much as I can because it was such a distraction for me. And then just had to add a few accents and highlights in the rest after I adjusted the exposure. And that's what I came up with. I'd probably go back and saturate this building a little bit. I think I desaturated a little bit too much. But I wanted to do some spot highlights here in these mini gardens and the brush, because there's some nice color in there. So I think that came out nice. And then of course you got to brighten up people all the time along this road. Just to emphasize that, because people are always the most important thing in the scene, even though if they're not the subject, right? All right. Let's see. I think that could be it. There was one that came in. last minute from Jimmy, I think. But I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I think I got them all. So, wow. All right. So let me get Jimmy's and then we'll look at the edits you guys did of my image. I need to open up a window over here. Wrong. This one. Gosh, a couple more came in. Give me a second. All right. There. Wow, this looks like Korean lettering to me. Is it downloading or not? Yeah, that goes here. And download that one. And download this one. All right, I think I got them all. So forgot me again, Rob. Email. Oh, dang it. Okay. I thought I downloaded that into the right folder. Hold on. Let me get yours. Sorry. I keep doing that. I need a new window here. And come on, download. Go to the folder. Yeah, the arch, right? Okay. Thanks for the reminder. I need to put it into... How are we doing? Oh, I got 20 minutes and then I really have to go. Where's my folder? There it is. Okay. So let's try this again real quick. Okay, we got this one. Okay, let's get the optical preset in. So EPM2 with a 14-42 kit lens. Man, that's a classic. That's like 2010, isn't it? That's really old. All right, let's see what's in here. So we have... All right. But the thing, wow, this is really well composed. So right, smart lighting. No, let's not do that. I'm gonna have to do a lot of local adjustments here. So let's work on the sky first. And I'm gonna do some clear view. Oh, too much on that. Pull the highlights a bit and push the colors tiny bit, maybe make it a tiny bit warmer. Okay. Then let's do a local brush, a new one. Sorry, the control point. Gonna be very tight here. Chroma, Luma. Not too much Luma because I wanted to kind of, oops, wrong one. I want this middle part to glow a little bit. So I need to, yeah, let's do that. Give it a little bit more. A little more. Okay. And then I think we can do, let's see. No, that's a little bit distracting, but let's add a little bit of shine. Let me create a new control point. Just a little bit of light over here. And here. Like that. And now the question is, do I silhouette the arch or do I let me see what a silhouette looks like. So if I go to the lighting and just pull the blacks. No, I don't think a silhouette looks good. So let's bring it into the frame like that. Okay. And I'll have to go back to this control point. Wait, this one. Just bring that back. Maybe give it some clarity. Okay. And we'll warm that up too. Just a little. Some vibrancy. Okay, and then this needs to be brought in again. Right there. All right, let's see. Are we really any further? Okay. I think I can get rid of these. And actually, let's make these darker. All right, let me export that. and see how that came out. I'm thinking I could have, let me just, before I go there, let me tighten up the Luma mask. I'm thinking I could have maybe done a little more. It's not looking great. But I'll export that. All right, so I'm just rushing a little bit here. But let me reset, compare this. So I didn't have to crop at all. It's really well centered, and all I had to do is really bring out some of the foreground, right? And then make the sky a little bit crispier, and that's it. I think if we look at it this way, there's the before and after. I really like this glow here in the front. I'd probably work on that a little more. If I had some time. Okay, so yeah. I knew it. I knew I didn't apply. Let me just, I didn't apply the deep prime. How come? And lens corrections. Did I not apply my basic preset? Because that didn't look right. Let me export it now. Yeah, that's a little better. Okay. So yeah, that's a little better, but I'd have to work on it a little more. But beautiful picture. I wish I could have done a little more on it. Okay, let's see. One here from, this might be Jimmy's. Snapped mine at sunset and had trouble getting the colors to look nice. Huh. So that's not Jimmy's. Okay. So let's apply a preset. And right away, I'm going to do a perspective correction. And then let's do a Luma mask this time. Oh, that's the hue mask, sorry. Luminosity mask. And just pull the exposure down a bit. Just a tiny bit there. Maybe some global micro contrast to see if I can get the snow to stand out more. Yeah, that looks good. And then we'll push the highlights. No. And we need to center just a little bit more. Okay. And let's do just a little bit more light on this side. Like that. Tiny bit of warmth. Let's go cooler. Yeah, like that. Push the shadow. Okay, a little bit of vibrancy and we're done. Well, I'm gonna do another control line. Oops. Let's make this side a little bit darker. All right, export that. Sorry, I'm rushing through these. I really have to leave pretty close to 12. Okay, so let me reset that. Let's just do a full screen. All right, so that's the original image. And it's the subject itself is okay, but the lighting in front of him is very, very flat for the most part. So what I tried to do is, I got a little bit of haloing. I'd have to go back and adjust the mask a little bit. What I try to do is make this side a bit cooler, because it's kind of off in the distance and it's cold. I also use micro contrast to bring out the little specks of snow to look a little better. So as you can see, the snow here is, you can see it, but it's very soft. And by adding the micro contrast, now it really stands out. And I kind of like, like I said, this is a very, very flat image. And this one has some more depth because we cooled off the distance and then we warmed up kind of what's in the front. And I'd have to fix some of this haloing with the mask, but it's a rush job. Okay, so thank you for sending that in. Is that yours, Jimmy? Because you said you sent yours at sunset, but I don't see a sunset image in here. But okay, let's look at your images and we'll call it. So the original, let's see. Let me find my original. There it is. Okay. So this is the original image I took with the TG5. It was kind of a drive-by. I was just driving and I saw this place, so I stopped and took a quick picture. So I didn't give it too much thought, but I thought it was an interesting scene. So that's why I gave it to you, is I wanted to see what you guys would do with it. So we'll start on this side and do a side by side. And I'm sorry, let me set this as the reference image. Okay, so yeah, nice crop. Looks like a 16 by 9, very gritty. That's a very, very good edit. And you brought up some of the shadows and without clipping any highlights. It looks really good. That was from Gregory Lopez. Good job. Um, yeah, that's a really good edit for black and white. And add a little bit of filmic dust spots there too. And this one is from Shri. Okay, Shri, let's see. Heavy crop just on the towers here, or the silos, I guess that's what they are. Interesting. Otherwise, very clean edit. Brought up the shadows and did a square crop. I think that works. And let's see, this one here. Wow, another hardcore black and white shot. Looks like another 16 by 9, maybe 16 by 10 crop. Very good. Tiny bit of haloing going on, but it's okay. Looks good. And we do it a full screen. Nice. Nice, very nice. And then this one has a frame. Ooh, I like this. This is a very portrait looking kind of color scheme from Eric here. I like it. It's very pastel-y. I think this is my favorite one right now. We'll see. I like this one the best so far. I like these pastels. Okay, and this one's from Lasse. This is a really good crop. I would not have thought of this. I like this crop and good editing. Good black and white editing. Got all the tones in. A little bit lower contrast. I mean, a lot lower than the others. But, excuse me, a lower contrast edit I think works well here. I think that's why I kind of like the pastels from Eric. You know, they are just, I don't know, another good crop here. Gosh, I just did not see this in the scene. I didn't see this when I, not in the scene, but when I was editing this image myself, I did not see this side as a separate image, but it really works. Very similar to what Shri did, but I think the right side is better. Um, oh, Eric says that was a Jane Pops's inspiration. Yeah. Okay. I like that. That was from, I'm sorry, this was from Bert. Okay. Yeah, that's a good edit. So this is another one that's high contrast, but it's not like clipping things, right? Like I don't think the blacks are completely clipped, and certainly none of the whites for the most part. So it's a limited tone, but then the colors are in here. It's an interesting edit. This is probably the most creative edit I think out of the bunch so far in terms of the way the colors are mixed in with sort of the other tones. It's almost like a partial color, but it's not. But yeah, this is a really creative edit, and I like the crop. And this is from William. Okay, so we got a little miniaturization going on with the blur here. And this is a good clean edit. Good clean edit, good crop. Okay. And the other thing I noticed is this really stands out now. So this is maybe it's because of the blurring down here, but this stands out more. The little Safeway truck. And this is from Naturado. Now this is very similar to how I edit it. I made it super realistic and tried to bring out the tones and details as much as I can. I think I even cropped. I almost thought this was my edit when I pulled it up, but it's not. So this is very similar to what I did, hyper realistic. Okay, this one's from Jeff. All right, so this is interesting. So this is really pushing the saturation and or probably I would say the vibrancy, because only certain colors are really strong, as the reds and the yellows. And then of course the greens up here. So, okay. Good contrast too between the buildings and the sky in terms of color tones. So saturating the colors really gave good separation here uh, between the building and the sky. So I think that's kind of what I'm pulling away from this edit that I have to think about, in my future editing. Okay, good job bringing the detail back in the sky. I don't think this is a sky replacement. I think this was the actual sky, but you did a good job bringing it back in. This is from Garrett. Yeah, it's a good black and white edit. Something's missing though. Hmm. I feel like something's like physically missing. Like there should be something over here. Where's my original? No, there's nothing there. Okay. So by bringing the sky detail back in, I just felt like this was a little bit more lonely for some reason. Like it was missing something, but it's not. It's all there. Okay. And this one's also from Garrett. Is that two? Yeah, another one. So this is a color version. So on this side, on the color, I think the blue is too strong. But it's the same idea, bringing bringing the building forward more. All right, and then let's see. This one's from Marcel. Marcel is a heavy light painter when he does his editing, and doing a day to night conversion is kind of his mojo. The crop is a little bit too tight for me, but I like the editing overall, doing the day to night. There's this nice glow here too that you kept in. I like that. And it spills onto these other buildings. And then the last one here. Okay. Wow, everybody saw this except me. This crop on the right side. I don't get it. I mean, I get it. I don't get how I missed it, but I get what you guys are seeing. This is a really good picture on the right side. And it's a good clean edit. Yep. Very good. Good processing and everything. And the cropping and the it's just right. Let me look at my original. Yeah, definitely. I mean, definitely a good job. Really, really shifting the color. This is a very subtle edit, but it's a good edit. Okay. Man, that went on for a while. That's 2.5 hours plus, I think. So I really have to go, but thank you so much for sending your images in. I hope you liked my edits, but more so, I hope that you maybe learned a few new things about DxO Photolab 8 and how to use it and some of its tools. I'm always exploring different ways to use their tools, and like I'm still not really good with the highlight or the luminosity and hue mask that they added with Photolab 8. So I'm going to try and start using that more and more in the edits when it makes sense. Um, and as always, I have my affiliate links down below if you want to download a free trial of DxO 8. I can't recommend it highly enough, as many of you already know. But I'll be back again next week. Man, I'm exhausted. I've been doing videos and streams like every day this week. But I will be back next week for photo editing. I will have my Sunday live chat for just talking about photography. Then I'll also probably do some more shopping streams where we go out and buy stuff together. So there's some stuff I need to get both for myself and as gifts. So that should be a lot of fun. Thanks for joining me live. It's always good to see everybody. You guys are awesome, and you have a great weekend.